Passenger from the darkness. The night was thick and black, like spilled engine oil. The moonless sky, covered with heavy clouds, pressed down like a massive concrete slab. Ethan and Daniel were on their way home. The road stretched through dense forests, the old asphalt cracked, and the lane markings were nearly erased. "I feel like we're in a horror movie," Daniel chuckled. Ethan remained silent, focused on the road. The gas was running low. "Damn, I hope we make it," he muttered, glancing at the dashboard. Suddenly, the headlights went out. The road vanished into darkness. "What the?" Ethan smacked the dashboard. The headlights flickered back on, but now, right in front of the car, stood a man. The figure was tall, wrapped in a long coat. The hood concealed his face, and his arms hung lifelessly at his sides. "Where did he come from?" Daniel froze. "Maybe his car broke down," Ethan suggested. The figure didn't move. "I don't like this," Ethan muttered. But Daniel had already pressed the button, unlocking the back door. The stranger slowly got into the car. "Where are you headed?" Ethan asked without turning around. Silence. Then a low, hollow voice. "Forward." The words sounded unnaturally flat, as if a recording played on an old tape. Daniel noticed that the windshield was fogging up. He wiped it with his hand and froze. On the moist surface, fingerprints appeared, as if someone had touched it. From the inside. "Ethan, stop the car," he whispered. "What?" "Look in the mirror." Ethan glanced into the rearview mirror and nearly screamed. The passenger sat motionless, but his reflection was distorted and blurred. Then the stranger slowly turned his head. Ethan's heart pounded. His face was barely there. Pale skin, deep hollow pits where eyes should be. Lips, too wide, stretched into a grotesque grin. "Stop the car!" Daniel yelled. Ethan slammed on the brakes, a sharp screech of tires. When the car stopped, the back seat was empty. "Where is he?" Daniel exhaled. The doors hadn't opened. The windows were locked. And then, a whisper, a dry, rasping whisper, as if scraping against their eardrums. "You picked me up yourselves." Ethan turned sharply. The car was empty. Damn it. He pressed the gas pedal to the floor. Chapter 5. The abandoned gas station. 15 minutes of panicked driving later, they saw a faint light ahead, a gas station. The car screeched to a stop. The friends jumped out. An old gas station attendant sat on the porch, smoking. "What's with the yelling? Saw a ghost," he chuckled hoarsely. We picked up a hitchhiker, but he disappeared." The old man paled. "Tall, wearing a coat." "Yes." The old man crushed his cigarette between his fingers, remembering something terrible. "He's been walking here for a long time." "Who is he?" The old man spoke grimly. "A few years ago, they found a body on this highway." "Murdered?" "No, he wasn't murdered." "What do you mean?" The old man looked at them and whispered, "He's still riding with you." Silence. Daniel slowly turned to the car. The back door was slightly open. On the fogged-up window, someone had written from the inside, "You're still driving me." At that moment, the car's interior light flickered on. The passenger sat in the back seat. He smiled. And then, the light went out. When it came back on, the car was empty. Only one new message remained on the glass. "We'll meet again." The friends sped away. They drove down the road, but the forest changed. The trees shifted, as if rearranging themselves into a new path. "What's happening?" Daniel screamed. The radio turned on by itself. Soft music. Then a voice. That same voice. "Why are you trying to leave?" Ethan slammed on the brakes. But the car didn't stop. It kept driving on its own. The headlights illuminated an old sign. "Welcome to Highway 66 Motel. Your room is ready." "We're not going anywhere," Daniel shouted. "You're already here." Suddenly, everything went dark. When Ethan opened his eyes, he was still in the car. But now they were parked in front of an old motel in the woods. The sign flickered weakly. The door was open. On the doorstep stood a receptionist in an old-fashioned uniform. "Welcome." And then Ethan understood. They would never go back.
I didn't want to stop. To be honest, I can't stand roadside motels. It always feels like someone is watching from behind the walls, and the floorboards creak even where they shouldn't. But that night, I had no choice. The rain was pouring down, turning the highway into a never-ending mess of water and darkness. My GPS had stopped working, my phone was dead, and I had only a few miles worth of gas left. That's when my headlights illuminated a faded sign. Hotel Midnight. Vacancy. The hotel itself looked like it had been built 50 years ago and forgotten ever since. Dirty windows, peeling paint on the doors. The only thing that worked perfectly was the flickering sign. It flashed on and off in a perfect rhythm, like the mechanical heart of this place. Inside, the air smelled of dampness and something sickly sweet, almost rotten. Behind the reception desk sat a thin man with a face that looked like a dried-up apple. "One night," I said, placing the money on the counter. The old man lifted his cloudy eyes to me. "Alone?" he asked, as if to make sure. I nodded. "Then stay away from the mirror after midnight." I took the key and left quickly. The room was small, with a bed, a nightstand, and a tall mirror in the corner. I collapsed onto the mattress, trying to ignore the musty smell. Somewhere beyond the wall, I heard footsteps, long, slow, as if someone was deliberately stomping just so I could hear them. Then, a rustling sound like fingernails scratching against wood. I got up, walked to the door, and listened. Silence. I glanced back at the mirror. It seemed too dark, as if it reflected not the room, but something else. And then I saw it. Not myself, not my reflection. I saw someone behind me. I jerked back, but the room was empty. Only my own heavy, ragged breath filled the silence. I threw a cover over the mirror and lay down, convincing myself it was just my imagination. But I could still hear the scratching. 3 hours and 15 minutes. I woke up from the cold. The blanket from the mirror was gone. Something moved in the reflection. I stood up, trying not to breathe. One step forward. In the mirror, the room. Empty. Another step. Me. But not quite. I was looking at myself, but my reflection was smiling, and it wasn't blinking. I turned toward the door and froze. The mirror showed that someone was standing behind me. Long arms, a face twisted into a creepy grin. I squeezed my eyes shut and dashed toward the exit. The door opened too easily. I rushed into the hallway, down the stairs, not caring about the car or my belongings. I just ran out into the rain, feeling as if someone was reaching for me with outstretched hands. When I looked back, the hotel was empty. The sign no longer lit up, and the mirrors no longer reflected anything. They only waited for the next guest.